Which rookie has been the most disappointing so far this season? We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Dynasty.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Matt Williamson and Ryan McDowell.
Thanks for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today is Crossover Thursday. Crossover Thursday is presented by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is so much fun, so easy to play. No competing with other players. It's just you versus the projections. You pick between 2 and 5 players. If they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. It can literally take you less than 60 seconds to enter. It is that easy. We love Prize Picks. We know you will love Prize Picks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Welcome to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan McDowell. You can follow me on Twitter at RyanMC23. Joining me, as always, is Matt Williamson. You can find Matt on Twitter at WilliamsonNFL. Matt, how are you today?
I'm all right. It's been a busy one, but excited to dig into this. It's an interesting topic tonight.
Yeah, as always, on Thursday, we're talking rookies, a look back. I'm sure at some point pretty soon, maybe we'll start looking ahead to that 2023 class. But for now, we're focused on the 2022 rookies. And actually today we're even going a little further back, looking at some of the rookie classes of the past couple years, because today, Matt, we're talking about some rookies who have disappointed through 7 weeks. It definitely feels too early to give up on any of these rookies, especially if you spent a first round pick on some of them. And we do have some first rounders who are not lighting it up so far, right? But you also have to think every year we see this, right? We see these, sure. We see slow starts for these rookie players, for these rookies, highly drafted rookies included. And in most cases, if you're not starting well, you're not turning it on. It's never, it's not just going to click. I mean, we see a few examples of that over the years. I mean, I think about Tyler Boyd was one who just did almost nothing as a rookie and then went on to be a productive player. And, the examples of like that are certainly more rare than the other way. And we're going to talk about some of those. Before we look at these 2022 rookies that are disappointing and try to make some decisions on those guys, let's go back in time a little bit, Matt.
Okay.
2019, Paris Campbell was drafted in the first round by the Indianapolis Colts. First round, is that right? Maybe it was second.
No, he's a second. Yeah.
The second rounder. Yeah. Second round, Paris Campbell, Colts. But he was a first rounder in Dynasty rookie drafts, ended up with an ADP of 1.08. And I mean, it's been injuries and inconsistent play. And even though over the past 2 or 3 years, the Colts have had really just one of the worst receiving cores out there, he hasn't been able to break through. Now we say all that, and Campbell is coming off back-to-back wide receiver 1 games.
Right.
Looks like
right.
he's finally getting it together. But obviously, if you spend a first-round pick on Paris Campbell in 2019, you have not been happy with the results so far.
Probably isn't even on your team. I mean, he's probably been cut, unless he spent the majority of his time on injured reserve. I bet he's on a different team than the one that drafted him in 99% of dynasty leagues now.
Very true.
Been picked back up or whatever,
Now, I said we kind of lost hope on a lot of these guys. Campbell is actually one kind of giving us a little bit of reason for some encouragement still. I mean, do you look at his performance over the past 2 weeks as kind of a flash in the pan, or is there a chance that maybe he's really really has flipped that switch and is going to become a productive player, both NFL and fantasy wise?
With him, he's a little bit of an outlier because I mentioned the injuries, and he was kind of a strange prospect coming out of Ohio State too. We've seen this with a couple of these Ohio State guys. Curtis Samuel comes to mind, where they're kind of trick guys, get a lot of carries, wide receiver, ball in hand type guy. With him, I actually am a little bit encouraged. Like, I wish he was on the bottom of my roster now. I wish I didn't hold him for the last 4 years, but
sure.
But if there's a league, I picked him up, a month or so ago, and it was a little more shallow. And I think he has a chance to be a contributor, but I think he's kind of the outlier.
Well, Paris Campbell is going to look like a superstar compared to most of the other names we're going to talk about here, because these are players that were drafted in the first or second round of dynasty rookie drafts, and in most cases have just given you absolutely nothing. Matt mentioned Paris Campbell, unlikely to still be on the team that drafted him in your dynasty league. Most of these players are not still on the same team that drafted them in the NFL. One of those examples is J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He was drafted in rookie drafts, actually one spot behind Paris Campbell in 2019. Eagles wide receiver, or a wide receiver that was drafted by the Eagles. He's gone now. He was the 1.09 pick coming out of Stanford, and lots of high hopes for him. He was one who tricked me. I fell for the hype on Arcega-Whiteside, and he got me because he's given us just nothing in the NFL, and we don't even really need to spend time talking about him, other than a reminder that even when you spend a first round pick on these players, they're going to bust. They're going to disappoint. And as we go through these guys today, we'll talk about, we'll try to identify who that might be in 2022 and what you can do about it. Because what happens so often, Matt, is we make excuses for these players through their rookie year. Maybe they got banged up. Maybe the depth chart was tough to climb, or they missed training camp with a contract issue or with an injury and never kind of got over that hill. But really a poor rookie season has usually meant a poor career and a wasted dynasty rookie pick.
Oh, 100%. And that's a big reason I like Dynasty so much, because I think it's closer to NFL team building and randomness, in terms of putting a whole roster together, certainly than DFS or redraft. And a lot of these guys, sometimes it's not even their fault, like personal example. I scouted for the Browns with Butch Davis, and we ran a really strict 4-3 stack defense, and we're looking for certain types of players. Then he gets fired halfway through the season. Romeo Crennel takes over and says, I really don't care about any of that information you've been working on for the last 10 years. We're a 3-4 Patriots team all day long. I want Vince Wilfork. I want McGinnis, and that happens to these guys. Like, do the Bears love Justin Fields, or did they inherit him? You know what I mean? Like, some of those things are outside their control. But Arcega-Whiteside's a great example. And it kind of dawned on me as I looked at this list you put together, a high percentage of the receivers that bust aren't route runners. They're not the sharp out route guys. Some of them have very good testing numbers. Some of them are jump ball guys. Some of them are just fast and tested well, but most of them aren't route runners.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like I said, we don't want to spend too much time talking about these players because outside of Campbell and maybe one other guy, it kind of feels like a lost cause at this point. 2020 was a rough year. We look at 2020 and such a strong draft class, so many key dynasty players from that class, but there were some busts as well. 1.08 was Jalen Reagor, another Eagles wide receiver. They had Arcega-Whiteside the year before. He didn't give them anything, so they had to go back to the well. Right. Went with Reagor and most notably took him over Justin Jefferson, one pick ahead, I believe. Reagor was the 1.08 pick in dynasty rookie drafts by ADP.
You know who else took Reagor over Jefferson in a rookie draft? This guy.
Oh, no. Keyshawn Vaughn was a first rounder in 2020, at least in dynasty rookie drafts. Tampa Bay running back. We thought he would be the starter. That didn't even come close to happening. He was the 1.10. The 1.11 pick was Henry Ruggs. A very, very slow start to his career. And then obviously the tragedy that he was involved in and, honestly caused that pushed him out of the league. And Denzel Mims, he was not a first rounder, 2.02 ADP, although I know he was drafted in the first round in many leagues. He's kind of the one that stands out to me, Matt.
Yeah.
Even though I think I maybe had him on one roster, he was not a guy I was specifically chasing in those dynasty rookie drafts a couple years ago, but he was a player that I was very quick to give up on. And maybe part of that was because he was kind of that combine hype guy, and he came on a little bit later compared to some of the other receivers that were in that class, and it just felt like that was a little bit of a mirage. And when he started slowly for the Jets, I got out quickly and was able to dump the one share I did have.
That's interesting because I was kind of thinking the same thing, because he got to the Senior Bowl and the Mel and Todds of the world are saying, this is a nice third round pick type guy. Yeah. And then he does great at the Senior Bowl, great at the Combine, which neither is truly real football. Getting off press and, all those things. And then all of a sudden he's a darling. And it's like, was he really that guy? I don't think so.
Right. He wasn't.
Yeah,
still with the Jets though, actually. Brian Edwards, another Raider, another 2020 receiver. The Raiders actually took 3 receivers in that class: Ruggs, Edwards, and my guy from Kentucky, Lynn Bowden. All 3 ended up as terrible picks for them.
Which is amazing.
Couple guys from 2021, and we'll move forward. Trey Sermon, the San Francisco running back. He was a borderline first, second rounder in most rookie drafts, and never got much of a chance. Couldn't beat out Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert and Elijah Mitchell and that crew there. Mm-hmm. And then Terrace Marshall, I think, is maybe the most important guy on this list. He's a player that many dynasty managers gave up on after a slow start to his rookie year. But with the moves the Panthers have made recently, shipping out Robbie Anderson, most notably, Marshall's starting to get a chance. So he hasn't really done much yet, but maybe he can turn things around and get off this type of list.
Maybe. He's not a real sudden route runner either. So
right.
I kind of think like your point to Mims is, well, maybe his stock did go up a little. If I've been holding him, I might dump him now. I can get something out of it instead of cutting him in 2 years or whatever.
Yeah, that's fair. So that is really, like I said, just a reminder of how bad some of these first round picks have been over the past 3 years. We're going to talk about a handful of players who were first or second round dynasty rookie picks just a few months ago, just this past off season. They're off to slow starts to their rookie career. And is it time to get out, or are we buying low? Are we still holding out hope for these players? We're going to talk about that coming up after this break.
So, folks, Bird Dogs was nice enough to send a bunch of us in the Locked On Network some of their clothing as a sample. And I'm not making this up. Every Wednesday night, I do a show at a local restaurant for the Steelers previewing the upcoming game. And I wore my Bird Dog khaki shorts there. Came home, immediately took them off and put on my Bird Dog sweats to do this podcast with Ryan. And that's been my move every night. When I come in the door, I've been throwing my sweats on. They're comfortable as can be. Lounge around the house, starting to get a little chilly here at night. So they're perfect for me. And I really like the shorts an awful lot as well. Fit me perfectly. They have a lining in them as well, which is kind of a neat situation that, it was very comfortable from the beginning. I had never worn nicer golf type shorts with a liner before, but they are fantastic. So if you want one, this is what you need to do. Go to birddogs.com, enter your promo code Locked On, and then they throw in a free Bird Dogs rope hat. I have one of those around here too. That's birddogs.com, promo code Locked On, and boom, a free Bird Dogs rope hat with your pair of Bird Dogs. The most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweatpants with built-in liners. You will not take these things off, I promise. So I've told you also about Blue Nile in the past, and they have been a great sponsor for Locked On for some time. So if you're looking to pop the question or have a milestone to celebrate or want to let your love sparkle, Blue Nile can help you make your celebrations even more memorable. They have a phenomenal selection of independently graded diamonds and pieces priced significantly below traditional retailers. Blue Now has helped millions of couples create their perfect engagement ring. Their easy online tools let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as the setting style. My wife always jokes that I got her a diamond that looks like a football. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then help you handcraft a perfect one-of-a-kind engagement ring. So if you're looking for a fine piece of jewelry to commemorate a special milestone, but still have trouble choosing, Blue Now has jewelry experts on hand. Trust me, I needed the expert help. Available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at any budget that you got going on. Shop stress-free with Blue Now's 100% satisfaction guarantee. All Blue Nows are insured and shipped for free in discreet packaging, so she doesn't see it coming. They also offer overnight shipping if you're in a rush. So here's what you got to do. Make your moments sparkle with Blue Now. Go to BlueNile.com. Use the code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. That is BlueNile.com. Code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more.
Thanks for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Matt, we are talking some disappointing rookies through 7 weeks here, and we gave you that long list, talked about several examples of the past 3 years, and I noticed every single year, we went back to 2019, each year had at least one first-round rookie wide receiver who is just a flat-out bust. Arcega-Whiteside, Jalen Reagor. It looks like Terrace Marshall is going that way. Maybe he turns things around. We've got a couple of examples here that might be the 2022 version. Sky Moore, let's start with him. Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver. He was a player that many were falling in falling in love with, really.
Oh yeah,
through the process, and then when he lands with the Chiefs, things really went crazy, right? His ADP jumps, he moves way up rankings, ends up with an ADP of 1.08, and now through 7 games, Sky Moore has 12 targets, 6 catches, 100 yards. They certainly added some pieces to that Chiefs depth chart there, brought in Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS. Mecole Hardman's still hanging around. So it's not a wide open path to playing time, but I mean, there were many that thought Sky Moore could be the wide receiver 1 for this team as early as this season. In fact, he had quite a bit of value in redraft leagues as well, and it's not happening for him so far. Mm-hmm. So do you see Sky Moore as a guy we might be talking about on this type of list in a couple of years, or would you rather buy low on him?
I think I'm buying low on Sky Moore.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I do think looking at this list of busts that you put together, I made the observation about receivers that are not real route runners, not sharp separators. I also think a common mistake is a massive overreaction to landing spot. Like I'm looking at Keyshawn Vaughn on here. Perfect example. Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't a bust, but we took him over Dobbins, Taylor Swift, and because of his landing spot, right. And I think that you can overreact to that because the player doesn't change just because he landed with the Chiefs. But I think a big thing going on with Kansas City is the Tyreek Hill factor. Not that he's gone, but last year, the Chiefs saw the smallest amount of man coverage in the league. You know who sees the smallest amount of man coverage in the league this year? Miami.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, because they're petrified of Hill. So what did the Chiefs do? They went out and got guys like Juju that are zone beaters, thinking, hey, we get tons of zone. We're going to, get zone beaters. Well, now with Hill gone, the Chiefs get the highest percentage of man coverage. So, the defensive coordinator said, we only play man coverage because Tyreek's there, not because you're the Chiefs and we're red. So I think Sky Moore, like many rookies, is having a hard time getting off press man coverage. And that doesn't worry me. That's a normal learning curve thing.
Okay. All right. The other option, if there is a bust wide receiver in the first round this year, the other option is Christian Watson of the Packers. 11 targets, 7 catches, 52 yards. He has missed some time with injuries, but that's a piece of the puzzle for him as well. That's a part of the profile that was a little bit of a concern, that he couldn't stay healthy. The drops were a concern. We saw, infamously now, that huge potential touchdown in one of the first plays of the season for the Packers that he dropped. Things have not gone well for Christian Watson. If Sky Moore is not the bust, does that mean it's Watson?
I think so, and I think I called this one beforehand because here's a good example of overreaction to landing spot. He really screams Denzel Mims to me. Tall, linear, good tester, gets pushed around the line of scrimmage. Man coverage is a problem. And we know Rodgers is such a stickler for the details. This guy's coming from North Dakota State or wherever. He's just lucky to kind of catch up with the league, let alone be on Rodgers' level.
Well, that's a good point. If you go back to those receivers that we talked about, and I mean, some of them are not necessarily from small schools like Watson is, but Denzel Mims and Jalen Reagor from not your elite programs, right? Even Arcega-Whiteside from Stanford. I think maybe there's something there. Not that you have to be from that elite program, but those are the guys who seem to be the late risers in in that draft process, and Watson was definitely that. I'm totally in line with you here. I think it's Watson who is the bust, unfortunately, especially for the Packers, because they need the wide receiver help, and he has not been able to give it to them thus far. If I've got Christian Watson on my team, and I actually do in a couple spots, I'm trying to sell him right now. You're not getting what you were 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago or this offseason. That's okay. Get what you can. If you can get a second rounder for him, I would gladly take that in trade for Christian Watson. I mean, Matt, one more first rounder. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you probably, like you said, you spent 1.9 on him. If you can cash out with a 2, that's 75 cents on the dollar or whatever. I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure you can get a 2 for him, honestly. But that's the,
as good as it gets.
Probably that might be best case. One more guy who was a first rounder in rookie drafts, according to our ADP, was James Cook, Buffalo rookie running back. He was the 1.12, a little better profile than the 2 receivers. 19 carries for 97 yards and a score. Also 7 targets, 4 catches, 37 yards. It's not as bad as those 2, but it's not exactly what we expected either. Mm-hmm. We and almost everybody else kind of expected Zach Moss to eventually get out of the way, and he has. He's been a healthy scratch, and Cook still hasn't really been able to get anything going. The narrative of the offseason with the McKissick thing, and they were rumored to be interested in Christian McCaffrey as well, was that they want to use their running backs in the passing game more. And I mean, they've thrown the Singletary. Cook has the 7 targets I mentioned, but their offense looks just like it did last year. And that's great for the Bills and for Bills fans. But if you were counting on them to throw to the running back more, it's really just not happening.
No, it's not. And mixed feelings on this one, because my worries about Cook coming out were, how many carries is he going to get? Yeah. And considering the Josh Allen factor, how many touchdowns is he going to score? But boy, I saw a dynamic receiver, and I still think that might be in the cards. They don't have a ridiculous stable of pass catchers outside of Diggs. I think there's still a piece of the pie that he could carve out in a high-powered offense. He's a mismatch type guy. And, he fumbled the first time he touched the ball. I'm sure that doesn't help him for playing time. That's kind of a fluky thing to me. I think I would still put in an offer for Cook, but he's never going to score double-digit touchdowns.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I'm more likely to buy than sell James Cook at this point. Matt, when we come back, we've got two more guys to talk about, rookies who were second-round picks in Dynasty rookie drafts who are off to just terrible, terrible starts to their career.
We've told you about Simply Safe before. Here's an analogy I like when we're talking about Simply Safe home security. So when it comes to burglars and bad guys, I mean, your home is like the end zone. And what you need to do is just build the best set of defense you can. And Simply Safe's like 11 first-round picks on the field, and with a good defensive coordinator running it all. So it's Simply Safe. Your safety is the only thing that matters. It's cutting-edge technology, powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back, so you always know your home is safe. And what's more important than that? I mean, your pets, your family, your belongings, it's your home. So we here at the Williamson household are big on Simply Safe. Fortunately, we have not had any incidents since we've used them, but they've been great with customer service. It's just a sleep easier at night type of thing. So they always have your back. With 24/7 professional monitoring, Simply Safe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police and first responders in emergency. Even if you're not home or can't be reached, they still go the extra mile and take care of you. Like I said, we have pets at home. We worry about that kind of stuff. They blanket your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, windows, doors, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Our monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you get the highest priority police dispatch. So customize the perfect system for your home. Every home's different. In just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/LockedOnNFL, all one word. Save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
We're talking disappointing rookies so far through 7 weeks. Sky Moore, we're both still buying, still holding out hope for Sky Moore. And as a key part of that Chiefs offense, Christian Watson. Unfortunately, we didn't like him to start the season. We don't like him now. James Cook, still holding out hope for him as well. So we're buying Moore, buying Cook, selling Watson, even at a loss. Matt, two other guys I want to talk about before we wrap it up today. Isaiah Spiller, Chargers rookie running back. What a journey his dynasty value has gone on, because early in the offseason, he was potentially challenging Breece Hall to be the rookie RB1, which just feels crazy to say now. Struggled in really all of those pre-draft things, the combine, workouts. It all seemed to be negative for Spiller. His draft capital dropped like crazy. He ends up in a nice landing spot. The Chargers are always looking for a backup running back and maybe even a 1B to Austin Eckler's 1A. And it looked like Spiller could be that. He hasn't been. Even with an injury to Joshua Kelly, he can't really get on the field. He has 1 carry on the season and he lost 5 yards. What are we doing with Isaiah Spiller?
Yeah. And to go back to some of these other examples, I mean, we have hindsight in our favor, of course, but it's almost laughable to think like a lot of us thought Reagor was better than Jefferson. Arcega-Whiteside and Isabella went ahead of DK Metcalf. Did anyone ever see DK Metcalf? Some things seem so obvious today. And that's what I was thinking is like before the pre-draft process, he was right there with Hall and Walker, and he's not half the NFL player those guys are. I mean, he's a very pedestrian athlete. He's another Charger mid-round pick that isn't good. I don't think he'll ever be good.
Yeah, it as I've said, it feels tough to say that after 7 weeks, but once again, that's why we talked about those previous examples at the top of the episode. It's better to get out now with some of these guys, even if you're taking a major loss, than it is to hang on to them and just have nothing for months or even years to come. If you've got Spiller on your roster, dump him for a 3rd rounder to the Austin Eckler manager. That's kind of your best shot. If you are the Eckler manager, probably just have to hang on to him. And if the Eckler guy's not interested, I mean, Spiller might be closer to a drop than a trade candidate.
I mean, one of the first lessons I learned from you back in the Dynasty Blueprint early years are don't stick with roster cloggers. This guy's a total roster clogger.
Yeah. This last one might be as well. Jalen Tolbert, he ended up with an ADP of 2.08. Another player that we really liked because of landing spot. Once the Cowboys shipped out Amari Cooper, even after they signed James Washington, he gets hurt. Michael Gallup was not ready to start the season. There was thoughts that Jalen Tolbert might be a starter. Instead, he wasn't even active on game day for many of the games this year so far. He has 2 targets, 1 catch, 4 yards. He's just a bust.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any good arguments against it.
You like Tolbert?
I don't own him anywhere, so I don't have him that high, but I probably would have grabbed him at 2.08 and half my rookie draft.
I would have too.
There, I mean, so it's not that much of an investment. He's kind of a monotone athlete too. One of the things that hurt him is Noah Brown's good. I didn't see that coming,
Well, the thing, it's true with Spiller and Tolbert. I think it's tougher to, even if you talk yourself into selling low, it's tougher to sell low on a second rounder because, a third round rookie pick is kind of your best hope. So if you're talking about dumping Christian Watson and you get a 2 instead of the 1 you sold him for, you can kind of stomach that. But with the second rounders and anybody even beyond that, you really can't expect to get anything for them. So that's how they end up being roster cloggers. You don't want to dump and just drop Jalen Tolbert in case it somehow clicks. You don't want to drop Spiller in case Austin Eckler gets hurt. So you just end up holding them for the next couple of years. And then you've got a roster decision down the road. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like I'll give you 1 of mine for 2 of yours. And how about I give you Tolbert too? I mean,
that's true.
Opposed to, and then someone says, well, maybe he's still got a chance. I'll stick him on my roster and let him clog up my roster.
Very, very good. Very good point. That is it for today's show. Please make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Locked On Dynasty YouTube channel. Remember to follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Dynasty. Follow Matt at Williamson NFL. And I'm Ryan, MC23. We'll be back next time with more Locked On Dynasty.